Well, hello everybody. Today we have with us Dr. Kelly Grogan from University of Wyoming. Hi Kelly, so nice that you could join us for our conversation. I know
Absolutely.
we've been partners in crime in like many different ways, so this is awesome. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me today.
Yes, yes. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, including a fun fact?
For sure. So yeah, as you said, I'm at University of Wyoming. Been here for about 2 years. I was at University of Florida for 14 years before that, so that was a big change. I'm a natural resource and agricultural economist, and I've taught a million different levels of microeconomics and natural resource economics. So it's kind of my work in a quick nutshell. And then my fun fact, I have a retired racing greyhound named Manny, and he is the laziest dog I've ever met, which always surprises people.
Oh, so he used to be a retired.
He raced 3 times, and in part, I think because he's so lazy, he retired really early. And now he gets to sleep all day, and he loves it.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't know what fun fact you wanted to share, but I wanted to share with the audience that Kelly is multifaceted because what you do, you make mugs,
I make
you,
mugs. I've got
you
some little
like,
pottery side hustle, teach yoga,
yes,
hike a lot, I do CrossFit. I have a lot of interests, and I'm not good at sitting still. It's really
fabulous.
the issue.
It makes for a fun life, I will tell you that for sure. Cool, cool. We are going to delve into another fun part of your career. So, can you tell everyone about your experiences with Semester at Sea?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's near and dear to my heart. It kind of fell into my lap unexpectedly right before spring semester 2022. I was having dinner with a colleague and she was like, "Oh, I had this opportunity. I have to turn it down. It seems so cool." And I was like, "Tell me more." And I was able to pull it off. I think I had to tell them in like 5 days that I was going. And so semester at sea is a whole semester long study abroad program. It's basically a floating university, and there's usually 11 to 13 countries on the voyage. When you're sailing from one country to the next, and you're on the ship, you have classes. And so classes run any day of the week. They have A days, B days. You just alternate days, and you have your classes. Like I said, when you're sailing between countries, you're in a different country for 4 to 6-ish days, and you're pretty much free to do whatever you want when you're in country, which is amazing because you get to explore so many different countries. And then each class has a field class component. So basically a day-long field trip that's in a given country. So they get to have international hands-on experience with what they're learning. So it's a super cool teaching experience, super experiential, comparative. We get to compare different concepts across countries. You end up feeling like one big giant happy family on the ship. You get to see all these really amazing places. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. Would love to do it again. And whenever people are like, "Oh, I want to go on sabbatical, what should I do?" I always say they should teach for semester at sea. And I'm not sponsored in any way by them. Yeah, I think it's such a really cool, unique experience.
I will put the link to
Sure.
this
Yeah.
program
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
the video description because, yeah, for everyone out there, whenever Kelly has mentioned about this program, I've been tremendously wistful because I cannot take off and, go to this program. I just wish I knew about it, earlier so that I could have interviewed for it. So great, great. I did
You
have some follow-up questions about it. What was, you have talked about the travel and, this associated with this unique experience. Has this been professionally beneficial for you in any way?
Yeah, I think it's helped for my teaching. I was able to get
Mm,
international examples to bring into the classroom for a lot
that's
of
right.
concepts. And I was able to teach microeconomics and natural resource economics on semester at sea, which are the same ones that I teach on land. So that's been nice to have those parallels and to be able to draw from that material now in my classroom. And then I still keep in touch with a lot of my faculty colleagues. So that's great to have connections really across the country from that.
Is this an economics-based program or it doesn't matter?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. They always have economics offered every year, every semester.
Hmm.
And there are a few other kind of core things they always offer, like business, psychology, etc. I think they usually have 25 to 30 faculty, and each faculty member is in their own respective discipline. And each faculty member teaches about 3 classes each semester. So it's literally a small, like I said, mini university.
Right.
Students can take kind of all the classes they might be able to find, a smaller number, but kind of all the different disciplines they might be able to find at their home university.
It's so unique and it is really fascinating.
Mhm.
And I'm sure in some sense, having everybody together in one place, of course, that happens in classrooms too. But this is different and it might promote learning because of, team spirit. And I don't know. I'm thinking about the positives. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
definitely.
It's so different, and they all are experiencing the same country at once, so we can talk about that. And then there's stuff on the ship that happens. So I was teaching game theory, and one of the students had like a really excessive amount of tea that he had brought, and it was now the end of the voyage and hadn't touched this tea. And he was trying to just offload this tea on whomever would take it. And so we actually use this example to modify or to explain sequential game theory, and like some of the students were involved, so we could, okay, what options did you have when Harrison stuck the tea bags on your door that you didn't want? We talk about that. What did you actually
Okay.
do? And they all knew about this tea thing going on, right? That was going on the ship. And so we had this kind of silly but also perfect example to talk about strategic interaction that they all understood. So
And
yeah,
common knowledge and all of
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Fabulous. It's clearly evident that it's been such a value addition it was for everyone involved.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So then moving on to my next question, and it's kind of similar, but I know you do so many different things. I would love for you to talk about something different, maybe, which is what is one of the most fulfilling and impactful aspects of your career so far, and
Mhm.
why?
Yeah, I love working with graduate students. It's always been my favorite thing. I lo like both master's and PhD. I especially love the PhD students. A lot of them come in maybe a little overwhelmed, unsure if they can do all the things they want to do.
Hmm.
It's just so satisfying guiding them through that process and then seeing at their end result, being like, look at this whole body of work that you have created. I've had a lot of students win awards for publications coming out of their dissertations and best
Great.
thesis and stuff like that. And I love that. I love their accomplishments and celebrating that with them and getting to see their growth over several years. Yeah, it's for sure my favorite. And it's maybe too much time on mentoring because I love it, and less time on my own stuff. But yeah, it's what I love the most.
I think that's an important thing that you mentioned, which is that I have personally struggled a lot with, thinking about my students' stuff and
Mhm.
my own stuff. And I was telling someone today that, I'm really trying to reframe these narratives in my own head to have a more peaceful existence, if you will. So now I think of everything as my stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. It's our
Reframe
stuff,
the narrative.
right? Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, you have ownership of the work too. Although I understand the struggle with, is whose work is this? Is it mine? Is it theirs? Is it ours? And yeah, so it's all mine in my head.
Perfect. I'll remember that
Students.
when we're collaborating. It's yours.
I'm joking. I'm
I'm
joking.
kidding. Kidding.
Students out there, my students out there, don't worry. Um, you've talked about, you've been at University of Florida for a while and now at University of Wyoming, and you've guided, so many students. So it's obvious that you've participated in so many different types of research projects.
Mhm.
So, if you can you pick one project which is or was very close to your heart and describe how you implemented this project? And you can really talk about anything under the implementation umbrella, whether it's methods, data collection, simulation, whatever have you. The only reason I'm asking this question is because I'm very, very interested personally as well in knowing how people approach the research implementation problem, not the research problem. but the research implementation problem, the different steps they take, so on and so forth. So can you share something with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite projects is actually one I did, really the first one I did as a new faculty member. I had a PhD student, Mauricio Mosquera, come to me after taking my natural resource economics class. And he said, I was working at the Colombian Oil Palm Research Center, Sunny Palma, and we have all of this data on bud rot disease, this major disease of palm oil in Colombia. And I think that we could use your course modeling tools to address this problem. And I was like, cool. And he brought every piece of data we could need. If you've done bioeconomic modeling, you know that never happens. There's always something you're missing. And they had done all of this field work. So yeah, we had this like treasure trove of data. So we took all this field data. We were then able to empirically estimate all of the parameters in this dynamic model that could simulate disease spread through a field, disease
Mhm.
progression through the tree and its impacts on yield as the tree ages, which is a big issue for tree crops. And yeah, we were able to construct this dynamic model. We modeled it in MATLAB, which now feels super old school because everyone uses R. But we learned how to code it up in MATLAB, and we were able to run a bunch of simulations to figure out the optimal control strategy to manage this really important disease. And he was able to then bring it back to Sunny Palma, like, these are our results. This is what you should tell producers. And it was super satisfying to be able to give really tangible results to a really important industry in Colombia.
Right, right. And kind of to follow up, once you had the data set, is
Mhm.
that did you have to work extensively to kind of, I know that all data sets have to be, transformed to
Mhm.
answer the question,
Yeah.
but did
Yep.
it involve like, bringing multiple data sets together? And
There was a
yeah, can
bunch
you?
of different data sets. So yeah, there were a bunch of different field trials that we kind of pieced together to get all the different parts of the biological side of the model. So like I said, they had some with healthy trees. How does the yield change as they get older?
Mhm.
Other field trials with disease spread, just tracking spread. Others at kind of tree level, tracking damage to the tree. So yeah, piecing those together. There was a lot of just kind of graphing the data to figure out what functional forms made sense before we even started estimating any of the econometric models to get our parameters. So yeah, there was a good amount of work just playing with that data, fully understanding what the scientists had done in the field, what our data meant
Right.
actually was, what we were looking at. Um, yeah, and playing it around. And then kind of once we had those pieces, then the actual simulations weren't that hard. But yeah, it was a lot of that kind of early work to lay a good foundation for the model that we built.
Fabulous. And it's great to hear that once you had the findings, you were also able to take it back.
Mhm.
Your
Yeah.
student was able to take it back to the people who could actually see the results. And that, kind of indicates broader impacts. And I personally feel that it's not always possible with the kind of work we do. So that's great.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was super satisfying and just a really great experience. And my first experience also advising a student, and we know I love that. So yeah, it's kind of all the things that I love. So it was good.
Cool, cool, awesome. And I'm going to shift gears a little bit and kind of talk, shift to the work that you have done as part of CWA, Committee
Yeah.
on Women in Agricultural Economics. I always mess up the full form of the acronym. We have been partners in crime in CWA for quite a few years. Can you share with us, some of the things that you have done and what motivated you to kind of do those, work on those projects, and how do you think those projects have been fruitful?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, you just threw it at me at once. I'll try to take it piece by piece.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, so I was first introduced to Seaway by my advisor, Rachel Goodhue, who's amazing. She's at UC Davis. And my first meetings, I was like, what do I do at AAEA? And she was like, go to Seaway, go to the reception. And so I
It
did.
is, can I say, is it's it just shocks me every time how many people I've heard say this is that their first foray into AEA was through the CA reception and business meeting.
Absolutely. We're a welcoming group of people,
I
so
know, same here, same
business,
here.
right? Yeah, so that was how I got introduced to it. I honestly didn't do a ton with Seaway for a bit. I kind of had this impression that the sections at AAEA are for like the special people, and I wasn't a special person. So I didn't go to the business meetings and stuff. And then I'm not sure who it was, but someone emailed and was like, "Hey, would you like to run for chair elect?" I was kind of like, "This is."
Me,
Was it
I
you?
did.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I was like, this is kind of a big jump from doing nothing to running for chair elect. But I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I did and got it. So thank you for that. And yeah, so I guess there's kind of two main things I think that I valued working on. The first was the survey work that you also collaborated on, which is basically repeating a survey that had been done like 20 years prior
Mhm.
to just get an assessment of where we're at in terms of diversity in the profession. And I think we did document that there is growth, but also still a leaky pipeline. And I think as our profession gets more diverse, it's kind of easy to be like, oh, look, we have diversity. But if that diversity isn't staying in the profession, we've obviously still got some issues. And so I think that survey was helpful in kind of highlighting that we're having a hard time retaining diversity, which is obviously really important. And we had a really great panel discussion at I think it was the Austin meetings after running the survey. We had, I think, five or six speakers. The room was full of people, and it's a really great conversation about like what can we do about this. So that was something I was pretty proud of. And then the other thing I worked on was trying to get on-site childcare at the
Yeah.
AAE annual meetings. You've also been involved in this too. And we had it set up for the 2020 meetings. We know what happened. And then it came back in 2022, didn't go that well. I think it wasn't advertised well, and it hasn't been a thing since. So anyone who's listening to this who wants to take up the rallying cry for on-site childcare, I was just talking to a friend of mine who had a baby 6 months ago. She's going to be breastfeeding during the meeting. She's got to bring the baby. She doesn't have childcare, and she's like, "This is going to be kind of a weird meeting for me." And so, I think that's still something that's important to work on, and hopefully, maybe someday we'll get that.
Yep. We'll collectively give each other's shoulders like a pat
Mhm.
for whatever we did and whatever many of the other people who are currently working for Seaway and have done over the past have done. So it's all a collaborative effort for sure. Absolutely. Um, these conversations have provided, like, I feel they're a great way to provide some advice
Mhm.
to early career scholars, and really, for that matter, anyone who is willing to listen and might benefit. So, do you have any pearls of wisdom for our peers and early career scholars and graduate students out there?
Yeah, sure. I think in academia, it's very easy to get kind of sucked into what everyone else around you is doing. And different culture or different departments have different cultures. A lot of them kind of teach you have to work just around the clock. And if you highly value productivity and winning all the awards, then maybe that's a great strategy for you. If maybe you want a little more balance in your life, maybe thinking about that early on, like what are your goals in your career?
Mhm.
What are your goals in your life? And creating a structure that works for you from the beginning that helps you meet those goals instead of just kind of following what everyone else around you is doing. So I would say that. And then also, I think imposter syndrome is a really big issue for a lot of early career folks, and knowing that you belong, you're not an imposter. Yeah.
Mhm. I appreciate you kind of linking that to, you said you belong, and it is so true. I have never linked it. Imposter syndrome, which I have a lot of. And I'm definitely a part of the group there. I've never thought of it in terms of, belonging to a very large group of people, but you're right. You're absolutely, yeah. And I think this is something that people suffer from across the board. I think somebody who, I guess if they're just not talking about it.
Yeah.
Even.
Well, because if you're like, I don't, I feel like you're like giving up the gig that you somehow got there by luck, right? If you talk about it, and no one wants to let people know they're like, I don't think I belong here. I think I just lucked into this position, and so no one talks about it, and yet we all kind of feel that way. So,
Yes, especially when, something is not going according to plan or something's completely, falling apart, which is very, very true in research for sure.
yep,
I don't know about so much about teaching, although, oh gosh,
things can go wrong in the classroom too, for sure.
right? It's like all kind. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I know for a fact that okay, this is my opinion, but I genuinely feel that you have kind of achieved that, that elusive goal, which is work-life balance in your life. So can you talk about how you like how have you been successful in doing that? And how have you kind of, and as I said, reframed the narrative, or you didn't have to do that at all? Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just have a lot of different interests that I value and I want to be able to pursue. So yeah, pretty early on, I realized that I needed to be super productive in the hours that I was working so that I had
Mm-hmm.
on working hours to do all the other things I wanted to do. Um, and yeah, I read a ton of books on productivity and kind of all the hacks. I'm the kind of person when I go into the office, I just want to work. I'm not going to go and chat with everyone. Sorry to my colleagues who wish I did that more. Uh, yeah, and just learning how to be productive. And I think that's going to vary for any individual person. For me, I'm kind of stubborn. And I think a lot of academics are stubborn and we'll get stuck on something and we want to just sit there and like figure it out and we'll spend
Mm-hmm.
days on like the same problem. And so for me, one of the things is kind of learning like I need to just walk away and work on something else so I can keep making progress and then come back to that thing.
I
Um,
see.
so yeah, thinking about little things like that. I don't have kids, which also, frees up some time, of course. Um, yeah, and just I don't know, making other things a priority, which I think in some ways, when you are doing other things in your life, I think it potentially improves your productivity when you're working because you're not
Mm-hmm.
as burnt out. It's diminishing returns for anything time spent working and otherwise. So I think in some ways, creating that extra space outside of work is also helping you be more productive when you're working.
Right. My husband had a former boss, and she scheduled, and what I think what my husband was saying is the boss used to schedule entertainment or
Mm-hmm.
schedule time with the family. Now that sounds awful, but the point is that she had her day planned.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was like having fun or not working, she
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't entertain any thoughts about work.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that efficient mindset, that structure really helped her be successful in, like, all walks of life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
very hard.
For sure. But I think work can also expand to take out however much time you give it, right? And so if you give it less time, you're necessarily gonna kind of focus in and narrow in. So yeah, I kind of love that idea of scheduling your other time so that you've shrunk the time that you have available when you're gonna get what you need to get done, right?
Yep. I keep on thinking about adopting this attitude, and I've quite failed. I have failed.
Aw.
So in that sense, it's either procrastination or work. There is no balance.
Oh no.
But then, if I feel that my life is a work in progress, regardless of at which point I am in it.
Mhm.
So, I definitely will keep that in mind. And I haven't read many books on, like, I've read two books on productivity gains, and some of them I'm like, oh, I know that. Then I'm like, why are you not implementing
Yeah.
that? So that's great. Like, the part that, really will stay with me is what you said about what having a game plan or a path kind of mapped out
Mhm.
when you are starting out
Mhm.
after graduate school. I think that's really valuable advice, because most people, I don't know how, maybe these days people do that, but I don't know, I didn't. that
Hmm.
I just worked.
Yep. Yep. It's kind of
And
inertia that leads you.
yes, and it's very hard to
Hmm.
kind of reflect and think of that path. Maybe that's why people don't do it because it's just easier to kind of just work rather than to reflect and
Yeah.
strategize.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's uncomfortable if you reflect and you realize you're on the wrong path.
Oh
You can't
yeah.
change, right? So,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. So my final question to you is, what is in store for Kelly in the future?
that's a
Some
great question.
exciting projects, efforts, anything? What do you want to share with us?
Yeah, for sure. On the research front, I guess I got a few things. On the research front, I kind of lucked into the ability to collect stated preference and then later revealed preference data for the same policy.
Oh,
I did
nice.
that really in a nice, clean way, which is kind of rare. So I'm excited about that opportunity. I'm excited about the AAEA annual meeting and some of the things that I'm doing there. I'm going to be teaching
Yes.
yoga at 6:15 on Monday morning, bright and early. So if anyone wants to join for that, and then I'm in
Not me.
some CUA efforts, including a fundraiser that's got an auction involved that I'm pretty excited about. And then outside of work, it's getting into hiking season here in Colorado. So I'm very excited. I try and get out once a week for a big hike in the summer. So
I think that's pretty common for people in that part of the world.
mhm.
Is every weekend, if you are so disposed,
Yep.
that's what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why not? It's right here. It's in your backyard.
Abs exactly. And it's probably not a very long drive to get to a place from which you can hike a mountain.
No, definitely not. It kind of depends how big of a mountain you want to hike from Fort Collins. But yeah, we have some local ones that are 20 minutes away. Rocky Mountain National Park is an hour and a half away, which is just a really amazing place. And yeah, it's awesome.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for this excellent conversation. It's been great, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in Kansas City. That you'll be there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be there.
Awesome, awesome. Great. Bye.
Bye.